Hey guys, Joe here doing a Wednesday one take. This is a update to the previous parts pickups as well as showing a few more stuffs that I've picked up. I am doing this every now and then just to give a little bit of extra filler in between other videos on the channel. Figured it can't hurt to show you what I've been up to and some of the things I've built that I didn't actually record because at the time I didn't think they were worth it. But I want to kind of cover those, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do with some of this stuff, as well as whether or not I'm buying them just to flip them, what I have into them, kind of a thing, and where we're going. A couple of things that I'm going to be testing, as well as a couple of changes I've made to a couple of systems. So let's just get into it. Don't get dizzy, because I'm just going to whip the phone around and we'll start filming. Zoop. There we go. So as you can see here, that is an ROG Strix B350F gaming motherboard. I got this and a Ryzen 5 1600 for about $100, and I couldn't say no to that because it was a hell of a deal to get an entire motherboard CPU combo for basically the price of what the used CPU is going for, because 1600s are in the $75 to $100 depending on what time you find them. I found it was on Facebook Marketplace. I picked it up in like 20 minutes after it got put up and I was able to get it. So yeah. Another deal I made with one of my buddies, I got a NHD14. This is the double tower cooler. However, I'm not using this because it doesn't fit on that motherboard. It's too close to the RAM that I put on it, and we'll be talking about that when we get to it. But I got this, a EK 560mm radiator, 4 140mm EK Vardar fans, which I still have to clean up and reassemble, as well as, hold on, I'm finding it, a 655 pump, which is basically a D5. They have a little bit less power, but they basically operate like a D5. It came on a pump res combo, but he had overheated the coolant because his system was actually blocked, so the coolant got super hot and actually shattered the inside of the tube. So he couldn't use it anymore, but the pump is still good. So I'm going to get a new pump top for that, and then I'll have a nice D5 or 655 pump setup. But yeah, so that was pretty good. I traded all of that. I paid for this, but I traded a 1TB SSD for everything else that I just mentioned. This motherboard is an MSI 970 gaming. I sold my 8320 and another cheaper motherboard to a buddy of mine who needed one for a system, so I don't have a chip for that, but it brought up a good idea, and we're going to be talking about that in just a second. But how I got this motherboard was I saw it on eBay. The guy started it way too low, but he didn't have the correct information on it. So all I did was I put in a lowball offer, and not a lowball offer, but a lowball bid, and I got it for half of what I was willing to pay for it. So this is normally probably a $75 to $90 motherboard. That's my RAM, but that's a $75 to a $90 motherboard normally, and I got it for $30 shipped. So hell of a deal there. That's still my wound vac. I'm still getting treatments there. But over here, this is an old BioStar AM3 board. Underneath here is a AMD Phenom X6 1095 processor. And I've decided that I thought it would be fun to put a old Phenom onto an AM3 Plus board, since they fit, and see if a board can make a big difference in the performance of your CPU. Because as you can see, this one has no cooling, like on this one, all this nice cooling on there. Doesn't have a good power delivery system. It wasn't designed really for overclocking. It has a 4-pin power. So I wanted to see what this board can do with this processor, because I already know what this processor runs. It's honestly not a terrible processor. It's a 6-core, 6-threaded processor. So that will be a video that I'm working on, and that's just RAM that I picked up in a random trade. I traded a GTX 960 2 gig for a bunch of RAM and a 2500K. Pretend there's a 2500K here. Back here, this is an Inwin 301 case. Coming around to the front, you can see it's a micro ATX, but inside of it is an ITX Gigabyte Z97 motherboard. I found a guy that sells these pretty cheap on eBay, and right now ITX and mini ITX motherboards are super expensive, so if you can get them for a deal, you really should. And I got it. I had an i7 4790 that my buddy sold me for 20 bucks, and I popped it in there with the R9 Fury X, and I kind of beat up the case because it actually has an 850 watt power supply in there, because that was the lowest wattage power supply I currently own. And it was the only one I had at the time. So I threw it in there along with an SSD. You can kind of see it hiding in there, and a hard drive. Again, it doesn't have the right mounts for the right stuff, so I made do, but it works well. It runs nice and cool. Could use an aftermarket cooler, but I picked that up, and I'm currently waiting for a gentleman to get back to me because he's going to buy that for a small form factor, just kind of a desk PC. So that's going pretty well. Let's talk about my big system, my X71, which housed my X99 for a while, and as you can see, she's all torn apart. I was flushing out my pumps and my reses, so I had both of these running in series, and it was flushing out everything to clean out both pumps of all their fluid. I've got it kind of cleaned out. The camera makes it look a lot worse than it is. You can see that this was the main res for this X71 system, and that one had the orange coolant, and you can see how it stained the tubing. I'm going to have to go through and clean that tubing. That's not, I wanted to take that tubing off and maybe put that with that 655 pump, but it doesn't come off. It's kind of sealed to the pump top. Well. And then coming over here, I have this workstation done. This is the Dual X79. I'm still thinking about upgrading the CPUs. However, I also have a couple of interested parties in just buying it. A couple of people want to just pay me what I'm asking. I was going to put my Titan X in it, and I had a gentleman that wanted to give me about $1,000 for it, but I sold my 980 Ti, so I'm going to keep my Titan X, and yeah, he'll be buying it with the 970. If you're wondering why the GeForce logo is gray, I did a custom mod to it that I'll be putting up a video on as soon as I finish editing it. Here on the desk, obviously, I have a mess of stuff. Move this out of the way and show you. This is an Asus ROG laptop that I found for my buddy going on 2 years ago now, I think. And this thing is a beautiful computer. And I found it for him, and he's been using it for a while. It's got a 6700 in it. It's got a 980M, which is like a strong 970 card, but it works perfect for him. It's got a G-Sync monitor. I can't remember what the refresh rate is. The refresh rate is. I think it's a 100 hertz, might be a 120 hertz panel, but it's a really nice looking panel. But it's having an issue because he's burned so many DVDs that the drive is actually not reading anymore, and I think it might be either bad or just dirty. So I'm gonna open that up and check it out. It's a Blu-ray drive, so hopefully he doesn't have to buy one of those. But this is a great gaming laptop. I had the newer version of this, and when he was looking for one, I found him this one. It was like $500 or $600 that I got it for him for, and he's been using it for 2 years, and it works flawlessly. It has a NVMe and a big spinning hard drive in there for all his backups. So that's all that. As you can kind of see here, I have my Assassin G1 board sitting here with the X5675, mainly because I put the Ryzen system as my personal system for right now, especially for the price I got it for, but also because the 5675 in here has been overclocked, and I think I overvolted it on the old Asus Extreme motherboard I had it on. If you recall from one of the old videos, if I can find it, I'll put it up there. I overclocked the Asus Extreme Rampage 3 on a i7 970 or something, and I overclocked it too far, and I actually burnt out some of the chips on this one side. But it turns out I also must have fried the memory controller on the chip itself, because only those outboard DIMMs work. So I need to get a different chip and make sure that all 3 channels work, because right now it's only running in dual channel, which limits how much RAM you can have. It only has 16 in it right now. It could have 24 is its max supported, but I know for a fact that they can take 8 gig DIMMs. You can have up to 48 gigs on a updated BIOS X58. Plus I need a case this thing actually fits in, and that brings us to this one. And you'll have to forgive the air cooler and the water cooler on there. Number one, I kind of janked together a water cooler. If you haven't seen that video, it's probably because I haven't published it yet, but that's a 280mm Corsair AIO that I picked up, and it's got a Intel bracket on it right now because it was on the X58, and I don't have an AM4 right now. I had an AM3 bracket, so I ordered an AM4 bracket. When that comes in, that will go back on there, along with a couple of the Vardar fans to make that all one color. But that has the Ryzen 1600 on there, overclocked only to like 3.7 gigahertz. I just haven't felt like messing with the overclocks. And that is the fans from the NHD14 on an NH12. That normally just has the one fan on the one side blowing that way. But it's good enough for right now. But in the bundle that I didn't show you, I got also two 16 gig sticks, so 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB, 3200 megahertz RAM, and I got that in a bundle with two SSDs. And after I traded the SSD off, I basically have $100 and a 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD that I haven't cloned yet, so I'm still running spinning hard drives and just a 240 gig for my operating system on this chassis. And as you can see, I have my custom modded Titan GTX because it's got a Titan XP cooler on a 9th generation or a Maxwell generation Titan X, and it works perfect. Except for it's loud because it's a reference card. Well, technically, it's the only Founders Edition now 10 Titan X that you can find, but the back plate and everything screwed in perfectly. You wouldn't tell unless you start gaming with it that it wasn't right because it is a 12 gig card. I don't represent it as anything other than what it is, but again, I did the same mod to this one. I took the green off of the logo. Here, let me power it on. You can see. Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. I think it looks better in real life. Unfortunately, cameras tend to bloom out the logo there, but yeah. In real life, it looks so much cooler with the white logo, personally. It clashes less and it fits with more builds. But yeah, with the 1600 and everything on there, it gives me better instruction sets for my VR gaming, which I'm still doing a lot of. And yeah, that's about it. So that's all I wanted to do today. Again, this is just an update. It doesn't affect the normal schedule. You're getting another video tomorrow. I just haven't decided if it's going to be tech or a firearm. I'm trying to save some of my firearm videos. I only have 4 or 5 of them banked, and I don't want to put too many up in a single week because then it leads to them getting demonetized. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I understand YouTube's position. But if you like these videos and you want to see any of those things that I showed you next, leave me a comment. Let me know if there's something I can show you how to do with some of these things, as well as, you know, like the Titan X cooler onto an older Titan X Maxwell. I'll be happy to show you how I did that. So I'm going to get out of here. I have to re-download Fallout 4 VR because my file got corrupted, install all my mods again, and get lost in VR. So that's what I'm going to do for now. Get subscribed, share it with your friends, use my Amazon affiliate links.